Hi, my name is Melissa and I am a teacher ranger teacher for Cuyahoga Valley National Park. And I've been assigned the duty of coming up with a curriculum for middle school students to learn about climate change and how it affects our national parks, specifically the watershed. So I have a little experiment to do with you to show you why it's especially troubling what happens with climate change in our bodies of water. So if my handy assistant would give me, so I have a balloon here filled with air. Doesn't take much foreshadowing to see what's going to happen here. Whew. Instant, right? As soon as the flame hit the balloon, it pops. But let's try again, same type of balloon. Now it's filled with water. Let's see what happens. What do you think is going to happen? It's weird. Why is it not popping? Well, the reason why is the water inside here is taking the heat from the flame. So the heat capacity of the water far exceeds the heat capacity of the air. So it's so much heat that the air can't take it inside the balloon. So then the latex of the balloon takes all of it, and that's what makes it explode. But in the water balloon, the water is taking all of that heat, and the latex isn't. So you could hold it there for a while. Probably I would burn myself before the balloon would ever explode. So this is just to show you how as our climate gets warmer and warmer, what's really going to be affected the most is our bodies of water, and then consequently our watershed. So basically when the students come to the park to learn about this, they are going to do 4 activities that show how it affects the water, and then whatever affects our bodies of water also affect the watershed, which affects the entire ecosystem because everything's connected. So when the students come out, they get this handy dandy junior scientist journal, and inside of here they have just some fun activities, some pre-activities to talk about the hydrologic cycle and climate change. And the first lab that they do is a water levels lab. So the water levels lab, they have a bottle of water that has a straw coming out of the top of it, and the water starts off cold, and as the temperature rises, they keep track of the temperature and they watch the level actually physically rise up the straw. So you can calculate what that would mean in terms of the ocean. And then the second lab that they are going to do is a water quality lab, which is actually part of Earth Echo International. So this one's really cool because it's part of a citizen science project. What that means is that just everyday people can go out, collect this data, and then upload it. So it's a global project. So when the students come out to Kendall Lake, they're going to fill this collecting container with some water from the lake, and they're going to check for turbidity. So if you see at the bottom this disc, this can tell them how turbid the water is, so kind of like the amount of sedimentation inside of it. So they have this handy dandy little card to say how turbid the water is. And then the next test is they fill this tube with water from the container, wearing gloves and glasses, safety first. And then they add a couple pH tablets. So once the pH tablets are added to this and shake it around a little bit, then you can see what the pH, approximate pH of the water. And then the last test, they have a smaller vial, and this is to see how much dissolved oxygen is in the water, which is super important because everything that's in the water needs the oxygen to survive, right? Our fish, our algae, the insects. So when you add tablets to this, it'll tell you the dissolved oxygen in the water. So they have the 2 water experiments, and then part of another citizen science project called the Nature's Notebook, they are going to do a phenology scavenger hunt. So I adapted some pages from the Nature's Notebook to talk about phenophases. So like at what point of the blooming or the dying stage plants are at. So they read these descriptions, and then we have some native plants and trees, and they go through comparing the descriptions, and they talk about what phenophase they think the plant or the tree is in, and do a little sketch. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the historical importance of Kendall Lake. So we chose this area because it has a lot of cultural and historical importance from the time of the Great Depression. So in the early 1930s, 1 out of every 4 Americans was out of work. So our new president, Franklin D. Roosevelt, initiated a plan to try to revive our country. So not just economically, but also our resources, which had become to be depleted from the Industrial Revolution. So one of the projects that was included was rebuilding Kendall Lake to have a nice lake for recreation. Beautiful lake. So when they initially built it, you could swim, you could fish. They even had, I don't think I have a picture of it, but they built toboggan chutes too. So it became this place of recreation for the community to come, and it gave a lot of people jobs that were out of work, also additional training and education. So that's why I chose this location. And then at the end of the whole day, we just kind of compare what the students have known previously about climate change and adapt it to what kind of things we could see happening in the park, how we can prevent this, and what we can do as individuals and as a community to help deter the effects of climate change. Thank you.